Hello, welcome to Alyssa Jean's Reviews, and welcome to my surprisingly early review for the surprisingly early release of Star Trek Strange New Worlds Season 2, Episode 7, the Lower Decks crossover episode titled Those Old Scientists, which dropped nearly a week early. They were going to show it at Comic-Con for the people attending there. Then I guess they were just like, you know what, let's just let everybody see it. Or maybe that was planned all along and it was a surprise. I don't know. But regardless, I am absolutely delighted by this surprise. I was actually on my way to a show that I went to last night, a concert. Those of you familiar with my channel know I'm into the Grateful Dead and Fish type of things, and there were cover bands for actually Grateful Dead and Fish that I was going to go see with a bunch of my friends. And on my way there, I was looking at my phone and saw that it said Lower Decks, or the Lower Decks Strange New Worlds crossover episode was being dropped today. And I was like, what? I'm going to watch it right now. But I was already on the way to the show, and the show went to midnight. And then I went and hung out with my friends and partied for a couple hours. So it was like, by the time I got home, it was 2:45 a.m. And I was like, there is no way in hell I am going to bed without watching this episode, because I wouldn't be able to sleep anyway. All I'd be thinking about is this episode. So watched it and stayed up till like 3:30 in the morning or so, 3:45 in the morning to watch this episode. And so thrilled, so happy that it dropped early. So before I get into my review, I'm gonna make a little more serious of a spoiler warning. So usually I just blah 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 yada yada over the spoiler warning because I feel like that should go without saying. But since this was an early release, maybe some of you haven't watched the episode yet. By some crazy chance, if you haven't heard that it dropped early until you saw this video, it dropped early. So go to Paramount Plus right now, or I don't know if there's another streaming service in some other countries that have it, but go whatever streaming service it is for you, watch that episode, and then come back and watch my review, because I'm going to get fully into spoilers. I've already seen the episode once, probably will watch it again the second time later today. So please do not watch this video until you have gone and watched the early release of season 2, episode 7, Those Old Scientists. So go watch it, come back. Okay, so all of that now out of the way. This was a delightful episode. This was not exactly what I was expecting. I think I was expecting more of just a rompous laugh all the way through, and just kind of those Lower Deck episodes that have all those references and just kind of just a lot of humor, like a Lower Decks episode. And there was some of that, but I feel like there was less than I was expecting and more heart than I was expecting. I would say this was a very sweet episode. It was sweet. There was a lot of great character moments. And I love how Marin and Boimler kind of touch base with each of the main characters a little bit and have a little bit of a character moment with each of them. And Marin and Boimler surprisingly acting kind of as like guides, like giving their like mentors, sort of guides for our Strange New Worlds crew. Which is not at all what I expected. But I adored it. I loved it. It was a sweet episode. It was a little different than I was expecting. There were other aspects of it that I was expecting, which I'll get into. And those are aspects that I was expecting because I thought that's what they should do. So they did do some of the things I thought they would. And of course, there were a little bit of the references, and just really loved seeing Tawny Newsome and Jack Quaid getting to play their characters in live action and emulating some of their movements, like Boimler doing the Boimler run and Mariner sitting with, I can't, you can only see the top half of my body, so I can't demonstrate it, but how she like sits up with her legs like all bunched up together. She was doing that. That's how Mariner always sits. So, just really enjoyed this episode. Uh, yeah, when I first watched it, I was like, "Huh," I wasn't sure what to think because, like, I don't know, it wasn't exactly what I was expecting of it, but the more I thought, the more it grew on me, for different reasons than I was expecting. So let's go ahead and jump into a little more of the details. I have a feeling this one's probably going to be a longer review than what I normally do because I do have a bunch to go through and I don't have to rush off to work because I did it on a weekend. So I have plenty of time. So let's go ahead and get into it. Okay, so the episode begins in lower decks animation form, and this is a thing that I expected and actually hoped for. Like that made a lot of sense to me. I think we should start off in animation with whatever it is that brings our characters back into time, which turned out to be this portal thing. It's not the Guardian of Forever, but it's kind of there's probably a bunch of portals like that sitting around on planets. Apparently, I don't know. So. That they start off in lower decks form, which I expected and actually hoped for. I thought that that made a lot of sense to do that way, and of course they end the episode that way as well. But I'll get to that later. Um, and I love how Boimler gets stuck in the portal. He's like, I've been portaled, and then gets pulled in, and then comes out the other side as live action Jack Quaid, and then wakes up and says, "You guys look so real," which I took as a meta comment on like the fact that he was used to animation and they are like real life people. But I think it's also a comment on he can't believe that they're really there, which we see in the later scene when he's in sick bay. And then we get the opening credits, which I loved, where they did the animated Enterprise. It was the same shot as the regular credits, the same sequence, but with the animated Enterprise, it had the little monster that attaches to the nacelle the nacelle, and the opening sequence of Lower Decks that attaches to the Cerritos, and the hero was attaching to the Enterprise a few times. I thought that was awesome. And it ends with the big koala, which is from that episode I didn't like, the Moist Vessel. Which actually I liked the Mariner storyline. I didn't like the storyline that ended with the koala. I thought that was dumb. But that's where that's from, and so they stuck that in there. So that was really fun. I'm really fun watching the opening sequence. Now, so we get uh some time with just Boimler there. I was expecting maybe Mariner to be in it more. Like Mariner doesn't get there till like halfway through the episode, so we get a lot of just Boimler time and Boimler acting like Boimler, Jack Quaid doing a great, but he does the Boimler walk and the Boimler run. Later in the episode, we get the Boimler scream. That was so good. Um, and Boimler really kind of attaches to his hero as a Spock. Um, Now we got to get this little bit of a storyline um, with Spock trying to smile and laugh, and Boimler freaking out about it. And there was a lot of meta commentary where it almost like it seemed Boimler and Mariner were Star Trek fans throughout this episode, where there was like, "Oh my god, I can't believe it's really you!" Like they were acting like Trekkies. But in this case, Boimler came across to me as a cannon hawk. He was just like, "But Spock, this isn't canon. Like you're not supposed to laugh. That's not in canon." And, um, but I think I mean, this. So I kind of took this as like the writers or the showrunner saying that don't get too obsessed over canon because this was going to course correct. Spock will still be the Spock that we know. This is just a little phase he's going through, and in fact, that actually really hurts Nurse Chapel's feelings when she, come, realizes that because she's trying to help him be more human or whatever, and she realizes that in order for him to do whatever great things he needs to do, which we know what it is, but she doesn't, that he would return to the logical Spock, and that's really kind of upsetting for her to hear that. Um, So I mean, this I don't know. This I've been complaining about the Nurse Chapel and Spock relationship because they definitely never had a relationship. The way that Nurse Chapel behaves in TOS is like this long, uh, I don't know, just this teenage girl has this star crossed crush on Spock and something that she can never have. And they definitely never had a relationship in the past. There's no way that they had a relationship in the past. So that had always bothered me. I think this maybe helps to calm me just a little bit because it seems to be the show saying, "Don't worry, we'll course correct. Things will end up the way that they should." Um, okay, yeah, and I can see that with Spock trying to do this laughing and smiling thing that's not going to last long. But I still don't know how they could ever make Chapel and Spock's relationship fit into canon. And it just doesn't. But I did find that it was a little, it helps calm me a little bit, but not completely. um, but I did read it that way as Boimler being a canon hog. Like, this isn't canon. um, and then eventually we do get Mariner coming through, and they're unable to send Boimler back because Mariner takes up the rest of the whatever that thing with the chemical was called, the fuel for that time portal. um, and I loved seeing Tawny Newsome with her hair like that in real life. And as I mentioned earlier, like doing the Mariner like scrunchy sit when she was hanging out with Ahura. Um, and well, Boimler is kind of, kind of guiding Spock a little bit and telling him, well, I mean, I know you as a big logical Vulcan. And Mariner's kind of, um, you know, commenting on Ahura and how she works too much, but also like just gushing over her and what a legend she is, and which she completely shouldn't be doing. But it reminded me a little bit of Star Trek First Contact, the way the characters were treating Zephyr Cochrane. And like, you told him about the statue, and he was like, "I'm not a hero." It was similar kind of thing, and Aurora's like, "I just can't imagine being this like hero that you think that I am." Um, but there was like kind of a mix of that, but also like Mariner just being like, "Come on, Ahura, loosen up." I love the scene where she takes them to have drinks, the Orion cocktails, with Ortegas and Ahura. We're getting all these references in here. They realize that the writing on that portal is Norsican, ancient Norsican, and she's like, "Yeah, Norsicans like they really love playing Domjot, even though they suck at it, but they still love playing it and betting on it for some reason." Of course, it references Tapestry, but I'm trying to remember which episode because I just did a Lower Decks rewatch. There is an episode where the Dorsicans come in and play Domjot with Mariner. Can't remember which one that was, but so she has a personal experience playing Domjot with the Dorsicans. But I like that line. She's like, "Yeah, they suck at it, but they still like to bet on it for some reason." And because it's just so Mariner, these lines. I forgot to mention the when Mariner first comes aboard, she's telling Boimler, "I was afraid you might have gotten stuck in some dystopian 21st century San Francisco and started a riot." It was referring to past tense, the Deep Space Nine episodes, and this is probably my favorite line of the episode. And then Una says to Spock, "Have you noticed how the references are oddly specific?" That was sort of meta commentary on like how all of the references are oddly specific. Like, they shouldn't necessarily know all of these details of previous Star Trek shows. But I love how that carried over into live action. I think when I said like that it wasn't exactly what I was expecting, this maybe I was expecting a little more of that and a little less of like the character moments and heart. but we do get some of it. That was one of my favorite ones. Um, as far as some of the other like character moments and the heartfelt moments, there's a moment with Leon where on Boimler where she tells him you never get attached is one of the rules. He's like, I never heard that rule. Like, well, it's from my personal experience, and they have a little moment talking about time travel. We've got the stuff with Una seeming a little worried about why they're so freaked out by her. And I was a little worried too because we don't know what Una's fate is. Apparently, to be known as the first officer of the Enterprise, because at the end, when they get back to animation, and we see the poster that is referred to, Ransom comes in and goes, "Oh, numero uno." So was she like she's always number one, so she never gets promoted to captain, or what? Does she die? Does she leave Starfleet? Um, it seems like she's famous for being the first officer on the Enterprise. But yeah, no, there was a nice moments where Una was like worried about what they knew about her future and realized that she's going to inspire people. She's going to be the poster girl for the poster woman for Starfleet recruiting with the slogan and S Espera, whatever was the title of episode 2, that Latin phrase. That's going to be forever attached to her and be on the Starfleet recruiting posters. So she was like, "You shouldn't have told me that, but actually, I'm kind of glad you did." So that was nice. And then there's a nice moment with Pike where Pike was like kind of reaming them out, and Pike was like, and another thing, I don't want you like encouraging the crew to throw a surprise birthday party for me. He's like, I am now older than my father and was when he died. And someone else on another review pointed this out as I don't remember those stupid J.J. Abrams movies much, but in Star Trek Beyond, there was a moment where Chris Pine's Kirk said kind of the same thing. So maybe a callback to that. And he's like, yeah, I'm just gonna go ice fishing by myself and like just chill. And Boimler makes a very good point in saying, well, we don't know how long we're going. Well, at this point, Pike has already admitted it. Yeah, I know what's going to. I know about the beaver chair thing. I already know. So Boimler was like, well, then you really need to appreciate every moment you can get with the people that you love, the people who love you. And Pike was like, yeah, okay. And so in the end, and we'll get to it, they do end up having a very animated birthday party. But that was a nice moment too. I was like, gosh, they're like the mentors for the Strange New World people. They're just going around to each of the characters. And again, Mariner, encouraging Uhura to relax and to loosen up a little bit. And that was part of it too. So for them just being their normal selves, just outrageously ridiculous, and like there was a line at one point where Pike says it's like taking care of toddlers, like just knocking. I forget the exact line? Toddlers who are knocking everything over, or whatever it was, and which is very true. But at the same time, along with their like ridiculousness, there's the heart, and that's really what Lower Decks is like. Right along with all of their over the top shenanigans and ridiculous stuff that they do, and all the oddly specific references that they make, and all the crazy stuff that they do, there is always heart, and that's what makes Lower Decks a great show. And so that was brought over into this episode. Now, when I think about it, I shouldn't be surprised by that. I should have expected that. I was expecting more comedy and less heart. But this was really nice. It's sweet, as I said previously. So, oh yeah, I just really, really adored this episode so much. So then we do we get an ending with the Orions, and Pike agrees to like, okay, well, we'll just say you guys discovered this and you can be scientists. It's like, that's all we ever wanted. It's like, that's a bit silly, but I do kind of like how they tied it into Tendi. I wish they actually showed us Tendy's grandmother. Like, I wish she was there on the way team. Like, my name's Tendy, rather than the Ryan guy going, yeah, I have a Tendy who works for me somewhere on the ship off screen. Like, why didn't we get to see her? Because then Tendy, our Tendy, at the end of the episode says, "Yeah, my grandmother discovered it." But your grandmother's not even on the way team there, so they should have had her there. I don't know why they didn't. And then, of course, Mariner, Boimler go back to animation. They go back to their own time, and we have that scene with Ransom that I referenced earlier. And it was all nice. It was everything that was great about Lower Decks was incorporated into a Strange New Worlds episode, and it like meshed together really well. And then we end with another scene that I was really hoping. Like I think I was like, they gotta end with Enterprise crew and animation. Like they gotta do that. They gotta do that, and they did. It was so good. And I love how they were drinking all those Orion cocktails and like, oh, what is in this stuff? Like, I don't know if the Orion cocktails are hallucinogens or whatever. And then they're like, and Ortegas is like, yeah, why are my eyes so big? Like, I don't know how else you can see her eyes, but I don't know. She's like, my eyes are so big. And Spock's like, yeah, my arm is not supposed to do this. Like, this is the chili arm thing. And that was great. That was so good. I loved how they ended the episode that way. So overall, just a really sweet episode, and perfectly melding together Lower Decks and Star Trek: Strange New Worlds. All right, let me go ahead and give my rating out of 10, with 1 being the lowest possible score, 10 being the highest possible score. So I'm going to give this a 9. My initial reaction was actually 8 because it was a little different than I was expecting. I was like, I don't know how I feel about it, but as I sat with it more, and I try not to be influenced by other people's reviews, but I did watch a couple of the reviews where other people were very excited about it, and I was convinced because just as I thought about it more, I'm like, yeah, they're right. So I'm going to give this a 9 out of 10. I could be convinced to even move it up to a 10 in the future, as if I watch it more and dwell with it more. But I am going to go with a conservative 9 right now. And as I was giving my rating, I thought of one more thing I forgot to mention. I forgot to mention the Enterprise references and how Ortegas was starstruck over Travis Merriweather and Uhura over Hoshi. That was so nice. And then somebody, Una or Pike or somebody, was like, "Yeah, they're kind of acting like them," which I thought was great. That our Enterprise crew started getting all fangirlish over Archer's Enterprise crew, and particularly calling out 2 characters that were underutilized in Travis Mayweather and Hoshi, who's both very, very skilled at what they do. Hoshi, especially, her skills were, she pretty much invented the universal translator for all intents and purposes. So to give them the spotlight, that was sweet too. So I forgot to mention that. So I'm gonna stick that in here after my rating. Anyways, it's a 9 out of 10. That's it for this review. So it's gonna be a little while before I do another Strange New Worlds review, because we're not getting a new episode this Thursday. We won't get another new episode until August 3rd. And I will be in New York City then, but my intention is to take my microphone and camera and laptop with me and just record from there. So I will still do my review for season 2, episode 8 on August 3rd. And that's the one episode I have not the slightest clue what it's going to be about. We now know that episode 9 is going to be the musical episode, which had been rumored. That's now been confirmed. Not sure how I feel about that, but we'll see. I'll give it a chance. Episode 10, I'm just going to have to assume it's got to be that Gorn episode, right? So if that's the case, then I don't know what in the hell episode 8 is going to be. It'll be a surprise. But that's not until August 3rd. So no more Lower Decks, or sorry, Strange New Worlds reviews for me for a while. but I am dropping my Lower Decks Season 3 Rewind review on this Friday, July 28th. That will be uploaded for your viewing pleasure. So I'm going through each of the 10 episodes of Lower Decks Season 3. In fact, I had to interrupt my filming of that video so that I could get this one out there. So please check that out. And Lower Decks, we got a date for it, September 7th, a date and a trailer. September 7th, a little bit later than usual. But I will be really looking forward to that. I'll probably be reviewing that weekly as well. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe if you have not already. And I shall see you very soon. Goodbye.